Money. Today we're getting dressed to invest.
Fashion is big business, as we've just been talking about it. It's not just the latest catwalk designs which can command a high price, though. Vintage designer wear also has its fans, and as Sarah Pennells reports, old frocks can be worth their weight in gold braid.
In the 60s and 70s, designers like Ozzie Clark, Jeff Banks and Bieber were dressing the most famous and most fashionable in town. And now they're back in demand. Clothes like these can sell for hundreds of pounds, but not all vintage is this collectible.
I think there's certain trends, certain styles, certain cuts to items, like recently we've been having a surge of 1980s. So yeah, we do get this trend and it does go up and down, and there are, but it's also very unpredictable. But there'll always be someone who will still come in and want an early 1940s dress.
You don't have to spend a fortune to buy vintage. This 1940s skirt is £25, its blouse is £50. And while certain styles like cocktail dresses are always in demand, there's no guarantee that just because you buy a vintage piece, you'll make a quick profit. This dealer specialises in dresses and beaded tops from the 20s and 30s. Dresses that cost £20 when he started 15 years ago now sell for 10 times that price. Partly it's down to supply.
People used to stay in the same home. They wouldn't bother digging their attic out to a move, and so these things would then come to light. But now people move so frequently, basically the attic's clear. And it was 5 years, so you get 5 years, everybody knows what's in their attic.
In fact, in the last couple of years, as high street retailers have produced their own vintage look clothes, prices for the genuine article have fallen.
That's real silver.
It's still possible to strike lucky. This 18th century dress was found in a bundle of clothes picked up for a few pounds. It will be sold for thousands. But most of us won't get that kind of fortune.
This one is £1,000, but if the owner hadn't made it more fashionable in the 1920s by chopping off about 1.5 foot of the hem, it would probably be nearer sort of 4,500, 5,000. So it's a good example of what alteration can do to the value of
stuff there, wasn't there?
Yes.
Wasn't there?
Well, for you perhaps.
I know who'll agree. Amber Butchart, she's an international buyer with vintage fashion retailer Beyond Retro, which is the biggest vintage store in London. Hello to you, Amber. Thank you very much for coming in. Is this your own gear?
This is actually some items we have from the shop.
Oh, right.
Here.
And how old's this?
This is 19th century.
19th century?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a Chinese wedding jacket, which is absolutely gorgeous.
How much would it be?
This is going for about £450 in our shop, but vintage kind of, the price tends to differ depending on kind of where you're buying or where you're sourcing, that kind of thing. And this is 1930s, 506 Levi's
Shall I take that one from you? All right.
Sure.
That's a 1930s denim jacket.
Yeah.
Putting it in a wardrobe.
This is actually worth a lot more than that one.
Is it?
Surprisingly.
Really?
Yeah, even though it's not as old. It kind of all depends on what's collectible, that kind of thing.
Just hold it up a bit so we can see the sort of true jacket shape. It's just a denim jacket. It's just a denim jacket. That's all it is.
1930s denim
yeah, but
jacket,
but well, I'm sorry, you know, to fashion layman like myself, I wouldn't know the difference.
No, you wouldn't, and that's probably one of the reasons why it's actually so expensive, because it's all in the details. You have to know exactly what you're looking for. Right. Which is what collectors find so exciting about vintage, especially something like vintage workwear like this. You have to kind of understand that the fact that it's only got one pocket means it's older. The cinch back, the colour of the buckle, it's all these tiny, tiny details in the pleating.
And also it was used for work and not for fashion. That's what's quite interesting about it, isn't it? Where does vintage start? What decade?
It's very hard to say. It actually depends what kind of item you're talking about as to what vintage is. Like for workwear, denim workwear, stuff like that, 30s through till 50s is vintage, generally speaking. But stuff like sportswear, you can get trainers from the 80s that are considered vintage.
And why are we seeing a revival particularly now, do you think?
I think because there's been, within the last kind of 25 30 years. There's been such an such kind of expanding mass market. Everything's incredibly disposable now. So I think people are suddenly starting to realise the beauty in the details of really finely crafted clothing. And you usually only get that with older pieces. You don't get it so much with high street stuff now.
It's a bit of a shame that if you do buy it, then you shouldn't wear it because it keeps its value.
It is a shame, yeah, definitely. And I mean, for an item like the Chinese jacket, obviously that would be the case because it's so delicate. You can see the embroidery. It's just so fantastic that you couldn't wear that. But stuff like workwear, I mean, obviously it's made to be worn and it's made to be enduring. So there is you can get a certain amount of wear out of it.
To get a good investment in this, though, do you have to spend a lot of money? Or spend a lot of time looking, I suppose.
Time, I think, rather than money. If you're looking for a good bargain, you have to spend the time looking for it, and you have to know what to look for as well, like the details and where you can go to find these kinds of things.
Be careful with Charlotte, because she's got a hand on that, and she's looking at it, and it's her colour, it's your colour, it's you.
We've given Amber a big plug for her shop.
Yes,
I think that's
it's you.
worth this jacket.
It's you. Yes, no, I think it looks good on you. Don't you think so, Amber?
It does suit you.
It's mine.
All right.
Take it away.
But definitely not for me.
It's you.
No, don't think so at all. All right, Amber, thank you very much, and we'll be passing this back very shortly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amber.
That's just about it from us. No, hand it back.